So
That's
hello and
awesome.
welcome, yes, to another episode of Good Fat Life. And if you enjoyed this music, we have some really cool things in the works. I'm so excited about it to be TBD. And today I am really delighted to. Our guest is Lori Burns from Lori Burns Counseling and out of Nashville area,
Mhm.
home of my favorite shoe shop in the world. So it's like
Yes.
road trip a couple times
Yeah.
of a year, right?
Yeah. And they love you
So
too.
yeah, yeah. And so you know what? And I don't even know the name of the store. I could tell you how to get
I
there.
don't either. It's like M&D shoes or
It's
something.
Marie's,
Yeah.
but Marie's the owner, and she's
Yeah.
phenomenal. And people stop me
Yes.
on the street for the shoes that I get at the store. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I want to remind you all to check out goodfatlife.com. That is our website and our magazine, and we have great events. We have a newsletter now, and just lots of really cool stuff happening. But today we are going to talk about intimacy and with Lori. And she wrote an article in this latest issue called Intimacy Fostering Connection Beyond the Bedroom. Because like when you hear the word, right, you think of sex or sexual
Mhm.
nature, but it's so much bigger than that. When we started having this conversation, it was like, holy snakes, there is so much more to this. It's an awareness. By being aware, we can create so much more intimacy
Mhm.
in our lives in very simple ways. So, do you want to talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit?
I work with a lot of women in my practice. And part of the journey to discovering this, besides just my own personal journey and the women that I talk to that are in my friendship group, it kind of, the thoughts sort of started for me. It's like, wow, women need to feel connected. They need to have a different type of intimacy than just feeling like their bodies are the only thing that foster intimacy. And part of the problem, I guess, with feeling connected to their spouses or to their friends, was kind of answering that question of what does that look like? Like, how do I feel connected to my partner? And so just uncovering that through conversations and through the counseling session was like taking a look at myself and my own marriage. I've been married 25 years to Brent, and I'm like, what do we do? Like, when do I feel super close to him? Like, what do we do? And I started kind of putting that together, and talking to my own personal close friends. It's like, sometimes we are just sitting on the couch watching television, or we are traveling, or we are in a car going to see our son in Chattanooga. And sometimes we're just listening to music, or sometimes I might be watching a movie if we're going on long drives. Sometimes we're eating dinner, sort of unpacking that, and then talking to my female clients about this. There was a common thread that it wasn't sexual in nature all the time. That might be a small part of it, but it's like, what is it that makes us connected to our partner, and what does that word intimacy really look like? And so it's fascinating to kind of unpack that.
It is, and since we've had this conversation, I've started noticing where those opportunities are or where those connections are
Mhm.
all over the place. And they
Yeah.
can kind of be everywhere, right?
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
and I can see it like I was saying, our daughter lives and her family live up in the Montreal area. So it's a
Hmm.
12-hour drive. So we love, Bob and I love to take those road trips and find a book that we're
Hmm.
both interested in listening to. And so that is a conversation or several
Hmm.
conversations, and then listening to the book. And
Hmm.
we've from listening to, we'll talk about the characters a little bit, or maybe not. It's a shared experience. And then, or I want to try this recipe they're talking about, or this, I want to go to this place that they're talking about, a restaurant or something. And so lots of things have happened because of that, and so it's not like we're in the car 12 hours together, but it's not like we're talking all that time. Right.
Right.
But it's just delightful. And then we'll pack snacks or lunch or whatever. So I'm just noticing since this conversation, how many times or hanging out times watching a football game.
Yes.
Or, going to the store because I want to find an ingredient to make something.
Yeah.
It's like those opportunities are everywhere if we stop and pay attention.
Yeah. And even, and there's different types of intimacy. There's spiritual intimacy when you have a shared faith basis, or, there's obviously emotional intimacy. There's several different kinds. And social intimacy, you were talking to me earlier about, kids and how, growing up before they had phones and everybody was on phones, you said your kids were on the PlayStations together. Well, think back even beyond that. My brother and I, were sometimes my mother made us sit and read books. Well, we were sitting beside each other reading books.
That's a great point because my daughter was saying, she'll see her students, they're sitting next to each other and they're both on their phones, but they're playing a game together. So it's no different. It's no different than when we were younger, right? Like we were saying. So if you and your brother are sitting there reading a book, you're both actually you're not even interacting. Like in the games they're playing together, they're interacting, but you're not even interacting, but you're still there with a shared experience.
Shared experience, and I think I use that word neuroception, which is technically it. Well, it's technically it's our ability to feel safety, right? It's kind of like if you've ever gone into a room and you kind of get that sense like, okay, this person doesn't feel safe to me. You don't know why. You just kind of have this like innate, like, oh wow, I don't want to lean into this person. That's neuroception. Well, it also can work the other way and it starts in childhood, kind of like we were talking about, like we learn as children that, the socialization part of, okay, I know from my brother, or I know from friendships, like I can be safe doing these different things together. And that's where we learn socialization. Like Christopher is an only child. So he didn't have a sibling to learn how to play with or learn how to share with. So it was really important that Brent and I, first of all, modeled that as parents, but also that we got him involved with other children so that he could learn that sense of safety and sort of navigate social skills. And that's kind of where that intimacy starts is, from childhood, and it gets adapted, hopefully, through, early adulthood and then into full adulthood. But it's learning how to connect in those shared spaces emotionally, physically, spiritually, all the different areas. So
you bring up a really important, I think, and you're the expert in this, but I'm saying that safety issue, right? It's the people that I would say, if I'm just thinking about it now, the people that we feel closest with are the ones that we feel safest with.
Yes.
Like I had a conversation with a very dear friend last night. She's also a colleague, but we both commented that we love our time together because we can say anything.
Yes.
And nobody's shocked and nobody's like judgmental. Yeah. There's nothing. And so you just feel like, because there's just times that you want to have conversations to explore stuff that you're thinking or feeling or heard without any judgment, any fear of they're going to think you're whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a form of intimacy. It's in the context of friendship, right?
Mm, mm-hmm.
And that is a form of intimacy, and you can have it with a parent, with a child, with a friend. My goal in my practice is to create and cultivate that experience for my clients so that
Mm.
they feel comfortable enough to just bear it all. And that is also a form of intimacy in that space so that I can co-regulate with them, right? And so imagine taking that into your marriage or
What's
into a friendship, right?
so what does I've got like 10 questions for you. The first one, what does
Mm.
co-regulate mean?
Empathy. It's
Okay.
just a word for like empathizing. So if you're feeling sad or you're feeling triggered or you're feeling anxious, I can kind of come alongside of you without being in it with you.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're helping me. You're being there with me, like being in the same boat together,
Yes,
kind of.
yes.
Yeah. Which
Or
I
if you're drowning, I can be in the boat and help pull you into the boat without being sucked into the water.
okay. Oh, that's a great analogy because I think that's a lot of what community is. It's that
Mm-hmm.
sharing that boating experience, if you will, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, what about self intimacy?
Interesting. Whew, that's a zinger. I'd have to think about that
Because you're talking, I'm
one.
thinking, well, what about feeling safe with ourselves? To
Yeah.
have, to have the thoughts. Sometimes I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll think something and I'll be like, no, I can't even go there because it just doesn't feel safe. And it could be a thought I'm thinking or something that maybe I don't know,
Yeah.
just a self sabotage kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately what we all seek, right? Is being able to be okay with ourselves and to be um, feel like we value and have esteem and have worth, and ultimately that we cherish who we are as people. I mean, that's ultimately the goal of the human experience.
Hmm.
That's when I'm in with my people, that's the number one reason that they're usually sitting across from me, is that part of them seems to have malfunctioned at some point in their life, and they want to figure out like how to be okay with a part of themselves that at some point in their timeline malfunctioned.
Right. Right. Huh. So it's all so interesting, right?
It is. That's why I love my job. So
Yeah.
it's like being a detective.
What would you suggest for people where to start? We've got the holidays, we're coming into the holidays,
Mhm.
and so there's just more opportunity to be in spaces with people.
Mhm.
So when are there some tips or some guidelines that you can give our listeners for how to create those safe, shared, intimate experiences, maybe,
You
or
know,
to protect yourself um,
yeah.
from the people that maybe you don't want to be in a safe, shared, intimate experience?
Yeah. Well, to answer your first question, I what I've been telling my people is, especially in light of you know the election. I know that there's a lot of tension, and I've seen an uptake in like clients that I've discharged years ago that are now calling me to talk about this, and because of anxiety coming up, for the holidays and having to be in spaces with people that don't share their political views. And my advice is curiosity, right?
Mm,
Just staying in that place of curiosity, and and curiosity without judgment. And it's so hard to do when you feel really, really, really strongly about your position, right?
mm,
And it's hard to put a boundary around your position and to keep other people from violating your boundary, right? And it takes strength and it takes perseverance and it takes love. And I think that word love is not used enough when we're in the counseling realm. And it's curiosity and it's love and reminding yourself, like, where am I? Who are these people that I'm with? And can I love them despite not agreeing with them?
So get
And
lovingly curious.
that's a great word. Yeah.
Lovingly curious. I
Yeah.
love curiosity is just, you're right. It changes everything.
Yeah.
If you can
Yeah.
go from, I don't agree with you, to, I'm wondering why you think that. What makes you
Yeah.
so strong in that conviction?
Yeah.
If you can be lovingly
And
curious.
yeah, and not trying to change them, right? Like respecting that you don't have to change them, nor do you have to agree with them, and
Right.
vice versa.
Right.
You
And I
know,
think
that's
some of it goes back to what we were saying. We all want to be seen and respected for who we are,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Like, I don't have to change my thoughts or my beliefs for you to love me,
yes,
or to be safe with you,
right,
right?
right. Yeah.
Huh.
And obviously, the beauty of my job is I get to shine the flashlight into different pockets, right? And so I mean, it sounds almost like too weird to even like just talk about it at such a global level because it's so individualistic, right? Like your experience with your family might look different than mine. um, I have some holidays coming up and spending it with my in-laws, and they have very different ways of living than I do, but I love them. I love
Yeah,
them, and so I can do it without judgment. I can be curious, but I'm also I'm me, right? I'm me. And for me to expect maybe a client of mine to be able to do that, she might not be able to. And so
mm,
I have to shine the flashlight on her strengths and areas that she can work within. And so it's very important to just recognize strengths and and I think that would be my advice to people is just what are your strengths? Notice your strengths and forgive yourself for the areas that you can't hold up, and that's okay, and
that's
just be
okay.
curious.
And just be curious. It's like, okay, so
Yeah,
where
yeah,
can we find this moment?
yeah,
Maybe this
yeah,
moment, and be okay with that. That's enough.
yeah, and
Well,
surround yourself with people that are your support system. Like that to me is so important as well, you
right,
know.
right. Or find that way to just separate
Mhm.
yourself when you need to as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Again, I
exactly.
call that, and I'm developing that idea of my own intimacy, my own personal intimacy.
Yes,
What works for
yes,
me, right?
yes, yes, yeah, love
So
that.
love,
Maybe
yeah.
I'll write about that next.
There you go. There you go. Well, I've just been thinking about it a lot, and in a good way. In
Mhm.
a good way, is
Yeah,
how to kind of honor or understand the things that scare me or where I need to feel safe, and
mhm,
just explore that. I've gotten lovingly curious about that. It's like, well,
mhm.
what scares me in this situation,
Right, right.
or this conversation with myself?
Mhm,
What doesn't feel good here? So
mhm.
finding that
Oh, well
space.
well, with my work, I usually and it works every time, every single time, I usually have people figure out what age do you feel when you get that feeling of being scared?
Mm,
How old do you feel in that moment? And when people can pinpoint, gosh, I feel like I'm 8 years old. When you can pinpoint where that sense of like lack of safety comes from, then you can figure that out and then you can work within that and figure out, okay, how do I bring that 8-year-old into adult land and get my adult self to go, you know what? I got this for you. Like, I got this for you.
Right. Oh, that's great advice. That's a great advice.
Yeah.
Well, on that happy note, I'm just going to I'm going to do a little shout out for one of our sponsors. It's Snedecor's Cleaners. I love them. They make my life so simple. It's part of myself. It's become just part of my self-care. They have these wonderful yellow bags. I put my laundry and my cleaning and everything in it, and I put it, not everything, some things we do wash still, but I put it on my doorstep, and it comes back all clean, ready to go, and it's cleaner than if I did it myself. It's gentle to the environment. They use sand, and all those little microfibers don't go out into the water system. Bigger than that is just knowing that there's always things that I could, because as you know, I tend to kind of run last minute, and I know there'll be something I can always grab and go, right? Always grab and go. So anyways, so thank you to them and the work that they do. And I just read an article about dust mites that just creeped me out. And so all of my comforters are going in the yellow bag out to be cleaned.
Oh, gross.
I know, because they are true. It's there. And we've had the conversation that you shouldn't make your bed when you first get out of the bed in the morning, that is actually unhealthy. Well, there's so much evidence to say that that's true because of the dust mites. So.
I can't wait to tell Brent.
I know. All good. So check out Snedecor's Cleaners. They are an amazing part of self-care for us personally and for the planet. Mm-hmm. So on that happy note, I want to say thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
And you can get Lori's amazing insights in the magazine, in Good Fat Life magazine, on our website. And if you want to connect with her directly, we'll have her contact information available as well. So go out and live your good fat life.